I'm Cygnus, not my real name, and today I'm going to be talking about CBF blockers and how they're low-key dumb as fuck. So, if you're a frequent visitor of this shithole of a platform, there's a good chance you've already seen these tweets and know what I'm about to discuss. For everyone else though, let me give you the tea. On June 13th, 2025, it was confirmed that Amethyst, the current top one, had been re-verified by Popoff to include a CBF blocker. It's important to mention that before this update, there was already a type of CBF blocker in the level. This first click right here is normally a 240Hz frame perfect, but if you have CBF turned on, it turns almost impossible. Before this update, Zoink had been playing the level with this trade-off, but has now obviously been forced to play without CBF, which he wasn't exactly excited about. To be clear, I'm in no place to make fun of Zoink for complaining about this, and none of you bitches on Twitter are either. I swear to God, the amount of people with like Misty Mountains as their hardest complaining about CBF, but you know who might be in a place to do so? Popoff, in addition to many others, quickly pointed out that Zoink had committed an eerily familiar sin with Thinking Space 2. The only difference being that the CBF blocker in that level was added before verification. As far as I can tell, with Thinking Space 2, it was actually Zoink himself adding that blocker, while with Nullscapes, it was actually Kiba, the creator of the level, adding that in. So now you might be tempted to roast Zoink like a little rotisserie chicken, but honestly, I get it. I can get behind a verifier, not a creator though, wanting others to go through the same trials and tribulations they had to go through. Especially when you reach the top of the competitive scene, I can't imagine what that feels like, seeing someone just breeze through a level you poured tens of thousands of attempts into. On the other hand, I also get wanting to improve the less than optimal physics RobTop left us with. CBF, love it or hate it, does make it easier for top players to show what they're truly capable of. So whether it's Zoink or Popoff, I am not against these personal reasons and desires that make one add a CBF blocker to their level. But the issue is, if you're in favor of CBF becoming mainstream in the community, be that through Pointer Crate actually placing levels verified with it, or RobTop adding / allowing it in the vanilla game, CBF kind of goes against all of that. Let's break down why. We have never been this close to unrated levels actually being placed on the demon list, and a significant reason behind the rated plus tab being developed now is a certain discrepancy that came with the introduction of Sizzy's mod. In case you're unaware, RobTop doesn't enforce any rules regarding CBF with completions of already rated levels. Probably cause he literally fucking can. But if a level is verified using CBF, it cannot be rated until someone has beaten, or in Rob's eyes, verified, the level without CBF. This is why levels like Spectre have an incredibly high difficulty estimate by the verifier compared to the relatively low estimates by the victors, who are frequently using CBF. So many conflicts in the top playing community go back to this. By adding a CBF blocker to your levels, you are not only eliminating this discrepancy and thus the major driving force for the development of the Rated Plus tab, but also literally enforcing RobTop's rules for him in places he couldn't normally access. In turn, focusing on whether the blocker was added before or after the initial verification is very much irrelevant, because the problem I just outlined remains the same in both. Oh, come on, are you serious? Admittedly though, is it at the very least slightly suspicious that one would go through the process of re-verifying a top one with seemingly no prior announcement, while keeping the actual changes to the level weirdly low-key right after someone gets close to beating the level a little bit faster than the verifier did, just to add a CBF blocker, while making ominous statements like these, but still staying adamant about none of this being about Zoink? Well, I personally think that, but this entire talk about which CBF blockers are okay and which ones aren't seems nothing short of pointless to me. Zoink actually chimed in after Cairo compared Amethyst's and TS2's CBF blockers, and in response to me asking him where the big difference was between the two, he paraphrased his initial statement. Zoink wasn't the only one making awkward justifications for CBF blockers, though. Okay, so Popoff. Caden. If you are talking about which strategies work in pushing RobTop to actually implement CBF, have you considered that, shifting the conversation away from him to the validity of CBF blockers might not be the best course of action? Okay, editing Cygnus here. When I was recording this segment, I was phrasing this as kind of like an unintended consequence. There are definitely tweets from Zoink where he's making it pretty clear that he thinks the issue is with RobTop. And with Popoff, there are also a few tweets insinuating that, but as I was scrolling through his Discord server some more, I discovered this message. This really makes it seem to me like he is very aware of where he is shifting the conversation to. Besides the just ahistorical recounting of the debate about CBF, he also cites himself as the cause of a controversy and not RobTop. I struggle with the way Popoff tends to phrase things, so I'm not sure about this, but to me, this really seems like he has an issue with other top players in addition to, or maybe even instead of RobTop. Just wanted to put this in there. Back to the video. In general, I find the way some people talk about RobTop's stake in all of this incredibly bizarre. It is unfortunate that so much drama is caused by his inaction in regards to CBF, but also, no. We're not simply talking about him not raiding one level. Enforcing this rule, even retroactively with him, for example, unraiding Psychopath for a while, requires a considerable amount of effort. Like, you know what wouldn't require as much sustained effort? Working together with Sizzy to add this mod to the game. Oh, and you know what would require no effort? Literally just not giving a shit whether a level was verified with a free mod that anyone can download. Maintaining this position while the majority of top players scream at you to change it is an active choice, and adding CBF blockers to your levels is making that same choice just on a smaller scale. So while I understand the frustration and honestly think it to be incredibly valid, it should not be directed at other top players. I made this tweet a bit ago about how adding a CBF blocker is kind of like crossing a picket line. Now that was a joke, but it might actually work as an analogy. Doggy choosing to verify grief with CBF, accepting the chance of it remaining unrated forever, is an act of protest against the bourgeoisie RobTop capitalist establishment. Doggy is the modern day Lenin. Viva la revolution! To be clear, I don't think all top 40s or whatever need to start being verified with CBF out of protest. I mean, even if I did, who gives a fuck about my opinion? To me, accepting this discrepancy and not trying to artificially prevent it from happening is largely a neutral action, benefiting neither RobTop nor the pro-CBF proletariat. In conclusion, more levels at the top of the list being verified with CBF would be pretty cool, but I mean, I also get just wanting your level to be rated with certainty. In the meantime, it might be worthwhile to consider whether we even want RobTop's approval for this. Do we want the top playing community to depend on his whims despite him repeatedly proving how little he cares for top play? Or do we want this community to be something more independent? Popoff, Zoink, any top player for that matter, you are the ones who can answer that question. So do exactly as I say. You need to